I filed for divorce after 3 years of my wife's cruelty and a recent emotional affair. I married you because my friends pressured me, she claimed, while I felt trapped in misery. Now she's suddenly the perfect wife. Can I trust this change, or is it too late? I am a 24-year-old male and my wife is a 27-year-old female. We met at a club during college. We would kiss in my car until around 4 a.m. on school nights and seemed to agree on nearly everything. Even though we did argue occasionally, we are both argumentative individuals. I believed we were in love. We got married in late 2021 after dating for a year and being engaged for 6 months. Her family is wonderful and extremely supportive. My family is hesitant. I love my family, but she clearly does not. Before we married, we attended premarital counseling, where it was suggested that she believed I was overweight, and I was, standing 6 feet 2 inches tall, weighing 250 pounds with 26% body fat throughout our relationship. She also mentioned that she didn't think she could love me if I stayed that way. We discussed this with our pastor and his wife, our counselors, and they provided a quite reasonable response, but she disagreed. I suggested, perhaps we should postpone the wedding until we can resolve this. It's typically the issues left unaddressed in counseling that come back to haunt you. She agreed it could happen, but insisted we should proceed and claimed she would simply get over it. I loved her, so I acquiesced. We had a beautiful wedding. We both chose to wait until marriage for sexual relations, but then delayed further. She doesn't want to have sex, claiming I am unattractive. She had never had sexual relations before, and I was also her first kiss. During the first 6 months of our marriage, we did not have sex. We engaged in some digital activities and possibly some oral, but even that ceased after a few months. Eventually, I recognized that I needed to change. I enlisted in the Army National Guard and attended basic training and advanced individual training as a parachute rigger. On graduation day from basic training, we had sex for the first time. I had lost nearly 40 pounds. When I took off my shirt, her first reaction was a frown, and then she said, "I thought it would be different." I felt defeated. I completed AIT and Army Airborne School Basic Paratrooper School and returned to Texas in the best shape of my life, but it was still not enough. We engaged in sexual relations maybe once a month or once every other month, and every time it was evident she did not want to participate. Sometimes she would cry during or after. I stopped asking. At the time of writing, we've been married for nearly 3 years and 6 months exactly, and we have only had sexual relations 25 times. Throughout this entire period and before, she frequently tells me I am unattractive and too heavy. She expresses that I am not masculine, claiming that my ambitions are too domestic, referring to my desire to eventually retire as a public school teacher or to run a small business like a game store. She believes I lack commitment to the Army or later law enforcement, and therefore am not masculine. When I returned from AIT, we moved into our first real apartment together, and soon after I crashed emotionally. I contemplated self-harm. I told her it was her fault. That was cruel and I should not have said that. She recognized her unkindness towards me and apologized, but did not change her behavior. I quickly overcame my suicidal feelings and continued to try to demonstrate my love for her. I pay all the bills, cook for her, clean, got her a cat, and engage with her favorite shows while listening attentively when she speaks. We take turns going through emotional crises and reconnecting. I say we should consult a professional, to which she replies, "No, that would be embarrassing." I suggest we at least confide in our friends about our struggles and seek outside help. "No," she responds, citing the same reason. After about a year, we finally confide in our friends about our issues. Both her friends and mine inform her that the problems are largely her fault. They assert that I am in good shape now and that her criticism of me is unfair, especially considering my previous condition. Even she admits I am a good husband to her. She feels like everyone is ganging up on her. I ask her what has changed between now and when we were dating. She replies, "Husband, I have always felt this way. We were never in love in that manner, at least I didn't think so." "Then why did you marry me?" I demand. "Because my friends and family pressured me to. You were a good man. They said love could develop after marriage." That said, we do enjoy ourselves occasionally. We have hundreds of shared memories, many positive and many negative. Nonetheless, I begin to act out. I raise my voice at her. I never threaten her or resort to physicality, but I do yell. I am larger than she is, and even if I weren't, I am stronger. That was wrong of me, but I maintained this behavior for a long time. Another year passes, and both my wife and I graduate. With my degree, I also receive a commission to become a United States Army officer. I enrolled in my school's ROTC program. Around this time, she inadvertently reveals that if she were not Christian, she would have divorced me by now. "What?" I respond. I then agree with her. She looks heartbroken. Suddenly, significant walls go up. I recommend we discuss our problems with our families and other mature Christians again, and this time she agrees. They all believe she is the issue. She feels increasingly isolated and experiences depression. I do too. She develops a habit of house-selfing. For several days, she behaves like a servant or maid, refraining from offering her opinions and only doing tasks I prefer. I tell her, that is not effective. That is not what I or anyone else has advised you to do. She responds, it is called trying, and I am trying. Eventually, she succumbs to negativity and returns to being unkind and unhappy for the latter part of the week before restarting the cycle. It feels pointless. I inform her that I want a divorce. She is taken aback and disagrees. I take a day to reflect and speak with my pastor. I come back and apologize, and she becomes angry that I did not follow through with the divorce. I am left confused. We begin marital counseling with our pastor and his wife in January 2025. They swiftly guide me to stop raising my voice at her and identify her as the problem. She wants to cease attending counseling almost immediately. Things worsen. I endure constant shaming from my wife, who labels me too fat, unattractive, feminine, and passive. I retreat into my hobbies where at least I can find success. I propose divorce again, this time more seriously, but the same situation occurs. No, how could you? Okay then, let's not. You fool, clearly I wanted a divorce. I ask her to entirely remove the possibility of divorce from our discussions and instead commit to resolving our issues. She states she cannot do so. She becomes miserable until I agree to consider divorce as a potential option once again. She eventually reveals that she had an emotional affair from late January to early February, which lasted a few weeks. I do not ask for particulars and immediately forgive her. Her friend calls me and advises, you should request details. I do, politely stating, our pastor will likely want to know the details during our next counseling session, so we should probably resolve this between ourselves first to avoid a spontaneous reaction from me. She disagrees and builds barriers. After hours of trying to communicate, she divulges details. While we are attending counseling, she has a brief affair with a coworker. They hold hands while walking through the park and discuss emotions. They go on dates and she receives kisses on her forehead and cheek. Oh man, that is indeed serious, but I still forgive you. It's not like you kissed him on the lips or anything. She agrees but appears evasive. I inquire again. Apparently he kissed her neck. I temporarily leave to go to the gym. Upon returning, I forgive her and decide to move forward. I am done with contemplating divorce. I tell her that she cannot speak to him anymore, particularly outside of work. Why, she asks. Because you just cheated on me with him. Why are you punishing me for this? I have already faced the consequences for the last few days. What? I insist on upholding that boundary. After about a week, she agrees. During counseling, our pastor and his wife are completely surprised. She feels attacked and no longer wishes to attend the sessions. I am compelled to share the details since she is not willing to do so. I have a breakdown at home. I express my feelings of hurt regarding her treatment of me. She listens. At the conclusion, she states, I'm so sorry, husband, you are someone deserving of love and I have not treated you as such. What, really? She becomes the ideal wife for 24 hours, then reverts back. She claims it was difficult to maintain. I feel devastated. The weeks go by, she does not change. I ask her why not. Husband, I just cheated on you. Why would you expect me to be ready to change? Give me time. We begin discussing divorce again. Last Friday, April 18, 2025, we drove to Oklahoma to spend Easter weekend with our friends. During the drive, we talked about divorce. Instantly, all feelings of depression and anger dissipated for her. She laughed at my jokes again, was happy, and we discussed what lessons we had learned from our marriage and what we would seek in a future partner. It was blissful and lasted throughout our time there. The following day, we drove back down to Texas. During the return trip, she seemed upset again. I asked, are we still getting a divorce? No, obviously not, she responded, appearing shocked by my question. I told her I was tired of living in limbo. Either take divorce completely off the table or let's file. I cannot do either with a clear conscience. Fine. I filed for divorce this past Monday. It will cost $350 in Texas and I must wait 61 days. That is outrageous. I informed my family and friends about the affair, which I had kept confidential for her sake. They all urged me to proceed with the divorce. My friends advised me to get a divorce, her friends told her the same, and her therapist recommended divorce. Initially, our pastor and his wife disagreed, but she later confessed she had not changed and lacked significant remorse for the affair. They seemed to agree that divorce might be a valid choice. They expressed doubts about her being a genuine Christian and whether she was truly saved. Her friend asked her to outline the reasons she did not want a divorce. It would damage my reputation, I would have to relocate, my family would probably stop speaking to me, and I want to see where my husband is in a few years. I am sleeping on the couch. She invites me back to the bed, yet she feels like a stranger. She attempted to engage in sexual relations with me again, but it felt like what I imagine a one-night stand would feel like. There was no affection, just half-hearted actions. Neither of us reached fulfillment. I cannot afford to evict her from the apartment because she contributes to the rent. We secured a larger apartment because she preferred it over a smaller one that would have been more manageable financially. but I could afford to do so after saving for another month. That was on Wednesday. She asserts she has profoundly changed since our conversation on that day. Suddenly, she is the perfect wife, becoming affectionate, cuddly, supportive, and lively. She claims she has recognized the error of her ways. I do not trust her, but I feel weak. We spoke as I typed this. She continues to act as the ideal wife, very remorseful. About what? The affair. We discuss further. She does not care about the years of unkindness. Instead, she focuses on this one significant mistake that she believes invalidated her entire position. I do not know what to do. God dislikes divorce, but this is unbearable. Any advice would be appreciated, but please try to consider things from her perspective, even if I poorly represented it. I would hate to be unfair to her. Summary. I filed for divorce on Monday and have 61 days, 57 remaining to either reconcile with my wife or finalize the separation. She has been unkind to me for 3.5 years, but I have not been perfect either. She recently had an affair, but physical intimacy did not occur. Everyone suggests I should leave, but I do not harbor hatred for her, which complicates the decision. She does not want me to leave, at least not at this moment. Story 2. Struggling with doubts about my feelings for my girlfriend of 2 years, I wondered, can I love her for the right reasons? After breaking down in her arms, I questioned if my care stemmed from true love or selfishness. Can love really be this complicated? I have been dating my girlfriend for nearly 2 years. We began as friends with benefits after meeting on a kink, moderate daddy little boy female domination subreddit of all places. It was challenging to find people in our area who were interested in moderate daddy little boy dynamics, so it felt like luck to find each other and to live so close. After I graduated from college, I ended things because I would be relocating. She said what I had feared. She admitted that she had fallen in love with me. It was not a typical friends with benefits situation. We cried in each other's arms and spent quality time together in addition to the sexual aspects of our relationship. We shared our traumas, hopes, and dreams. She did not have a car, so I would drive 5 hours round trip to pick her up. When my father became suspicious of my high mileage, I began renting cars just to see her. She would stay with me for a few days every couple of weeks. I was thrilled to have finally found someone with whom to share these experiences and who genuinely wanted to be with me. However, I was uncertain whether I loved her enough to start a committed relationship. In my last relationship over 5 years ago, I ended up hurting someone I believed I loved, and I did not realize it until it was too late. I pressured my ex into sexual activities, effectively coercing her into doing things until she eventually acquiesced. It was selfish of me, but at the time I thought it was acceptable because I was enjoying myself. I could not see that she was not enjoying these sexual encounters. I only realized my mistakes when she sent me a lengthy breakup message detailing everything I had done wrong, explaining how I should have accepted her no the first time and treated her better, among other things. I broke down and felt as if someone had torn me apart. I felt sick and nauseous at my treatment of someone I claimed to love. It affected me for several years. Returning to my new girlfriend, after I told her I did not love her in a romantic sense, she responded that it was okay, that she understood, and that we could remain friends. That summer, I sent her pictures of the sunrise while I sipped my coffee because I thought she would appreciate it. I missed having her sit beside me during peaceful moments like that. When I went to bed, I found myself thinking about her both sexually and non-sexually. I just wanted her to be here with me. After I eventually moved for my new job about a month later, I texted her and asked if she could FaceTime me. I was unsure if it was the right decision, but I thought that all these feelings must mean something. I then asked if she wanted to be my girlfriend. She began hyperventilating and I had to help calm her down. I gave her a week to decide and she said yes. We maintained a long-distance relationship until she relocated to my town to be closer to me and find a job nearby. It was wonderful, I was happy. However, my troubling thoughts emerged. I have struggled with depression and anxiety throughout my adult life and have taken medication at various times. It has reached a point where I think I may have relationship obsessive-compulsive disorder, though I am not entirely certain. I would occasionally doubt or mentally nitpick aspects of her appearance. I would stress about minor issues until the thoughts eventually faded. At times, I would worry about her skin and encourage her to use skincare products, engaging in discussions about skincare in hopes that she would adopt them. I discovered that she had been vaping and concealing it from me while we were apart after graduating. I supported and urged her to quit, and she was very grateful. However, she started gaining weight due to the nicotine suppressing her appetite. That's when I began encouraging us to work out together so she could lose weight. We have discussed this extensively. I asked her if it was acceptable for me to push her to lose weight for aesthetic and health reasons, and she agreed. Eventually, she also wanted to lose the weight as she felt she was becoming overweight. I do not understand why I behave this way. It's as if I look for small things to change, and I want these thoughts to cease because they make me feel like a terrible person and lead me to believe that I do not love her truly. I believe I love her. I feel happy when she is with me. I enjoy living life together. I want to care for her and provide for her, and I do not want to hurt her. When she has experienced mental breakdowns, I have driven late at night to her apartment to comfort her and ensure she is safe, even though I had work the next day. I gave her my used vehicle and purchased a new one so she would have transportation for work. I cover most of our meals. I occasionally buy her gifts and items I think she will enjoy when I see them. She still feels uncomfortable driving much, so I drive a 50-minute round trip to pick her up when she has time to spend a few days with me. I strive to be considerate and to support her. I offer advice and assist her when she has trouble organizing her life and caring for herself. I truly do not want to hurt her. I express to her that my ultimate goal in life is to love each other completely and passionately until we both reach the age of 90, spending every day loving one another and sharing happiness together. As we have discussed marriage, I have become increasingly anxious, doubting myself concerning whether she is the one, whether I truly love her, and whether I am good enough for her, among other concerns. These doubts are becoming more problematic and causing stress in our relationship. This has compelled me to spend excessive time analyzing my feelings for her. I have cried in her arms because I wish for these thoughts to cease and to be okay again. She has been supportive and understanding, but she has also been hurt by some of our recent conversations, and I hate that I am causing her pain. We have always relied on one another for comfort, discussing our issues and providing each other support. However, it has become challenging to do this when the concern revolves around us. I have reached a point where I have begun therapy in an attempt to untangle my thought processes. I feel like I love her, but I perceive my actions in wanting certain changes as selfish. Our sexual relationship has diminished significantly due to her work stress over the past 6 months, and we have talked about wanting to return to the sexual dynamic and kink we once shared, but she has become upset at times when I have pushed the issue. I worry that some of these doubts began when our sexual activity decreased. Recently, I have been worried that I might have convinced myself that I love her, to the extent that I care about her a great deal and perform the actions typical of someone who loves another person. However, I fear that I may secretly still be the selfish person who used others only for sex. I despise these thoughts and wish they would disappear. I still find myself looking at other women, and I resent that I do. There is a girl at work whom I find attractive, which makes me anxious, but I also wonder if that is merely my anxiety or potentially undiagnosed relationship obsessive-compulsive disorder making me fixate on her rather than actually wanting a relationship with her. I worry that my relationship may somehow be fundamentally about sex, even though I care for her and love her in many non-sexual ways. I feel thoroughly lost and confused now. She went through a traumatic divorce when she was younger. She has attempted to date other men but has never been interested in them. When she met me, she claimed she instantly felt safe with me. She stated that I am the best man she has ever been with and that I treat her very well. I frequently feel as though I do not deserve such kind words and that I fall short of her expectations. Even though she believes this, I have a lingering fear that I have deceived her or conditioned her to perceive me this way. I never want to hurt her or damage her faith in love. I cannot fathom living with myself if I were to cause her pain. She is incredibly kind, loving, affectionate, and amazing. She takes excellent care of me and exhibits immense patience with my issues. She understands my mental health struggles and wants to assist me during these tough times because I have supported her through her own difficult mental health episodes. Through all of this, I believed I had changed from the person who took advantage of my ex. I aim to keep that in mind and to make a positive transformation so that I would never hurt anyone like that again. However, I fear I may eventually discover that I am still that same person and I have merely convinced myself that I am different. I do not want to marry her only to realize that I never truly loved her. I cannot put her through that again. I love her. I just wish these negative thoughts would dissipate so that I could love her as effortlessly as she loves me. I began taking Wellbutrin a month ago and I want to stop now because it seems to have intensified these troubling thoughts. Recently, my mental stress has made me feel depressed, which has made it challenging to look at her and feel love for her. Last night, we were watching television together after I had experienced significant anxiety and took a walk to calm down. I asked if I could hold her breasts while we watched television. She usually allows me to touch them when we are just relaxing. I had started to feel better after we cuddled, as it often brings me joy. However, when I grabbed her breast, I felt a slight but immediate relief in my chest and I felt somewhat better. When I released her from my grasp, my chest tightened up again. Then I rested my head on her bare chest. I felt cozy, warm, loved, and happy. But soon after, I became sad. I felt sadness because, despite feeling close to her, loving and warm, I had only felt that way after holding her breasts. It led me to believe that I love her primarily for our kinks and cuddling rather than for who she is. Alternatively, perhaps the sensation I felt when I touched her was simply normal, allowing me to relieve stress and feel the familiar loving emotions I have for her. I long for clarity on this matter. I want to be comfortable in our relationship and happy together. I am exhausted from doubting my love for her and our future together. She has expressed that she believes it was God's plan for us to find each other. Can one love another and still experience these doubts? I want to love her until the end of time and beyond and grow old together. She is my rock and she is incredibly important to me, providing me with wonderful care. We share the same morals, political views, and values. If I truly do not love her, I want to know. However, if my doubts and concerns are merely in my head, I want to know that as well. I do not wish to make a mistake by either remaining together or by breaking up. Please do not simply suggest that I should break up. If after analyzing everything I have said, you conclude that is the best course of action, then feel free. I feel as though many people on this subreddit suggest breaking up because it is an easy conclusion for them to make. Thank you. Summary: I am fearful that I do not love my girlfriend for the right reasons, even though I perform all the actions expected of someone who loves and wants to care for her. Story 3. He violated my privacy, admitting, "I went through your laptop after I trusted him with it. While I cooked for him, he laughed at my past, saying, 'You've got nothing to be proud of.' I realized too late he was nothing but a monster in disguise. What else did I miss? I was utterly astonished when he confessed to searching through my laptop. I had trusted him to use it for a work-related reason. Never in my life did I think he would violate my trust like that. I would never betray someone's trust in the way he did mine. One evening, he came over to my apartment and requested to use my laptop for work. I do not even remember what excuse he provided regarding his own laptop, but now, I genuinely believe that it was his intention all along to invade my private life. I handed it over to him, trusting him completely, and he pretended as if he was teaching a class. Meanwhile, I was in the kitchen preparing food for both of us. He did not even offer to assist. While I was cooking, a memory from another visit rushed back to me. He had made me cook and then consumed all the food without asking if I was hungry. I was hungry, but I remained silent, allowing him to eat it all. That moment hurt deeply, so I wrote inconsiderate in my phone's notes application. I did not realize that the app was synced with my laptop and had opened there as well. That was when it all began. It was far past midnight and I had work the following morning. I could not sleep. I kept tossing and turning, feeling nauseous. That gut feeling, women's intuition, or whatever you choose to call it, I knew something was terribly wrong. I could sense it in the pit of my stomach. And then I discovered why. He spent hours going through my notes, my emails, my messages, my entire digital existence. Around 4 a.m., he finally spoke up. "You realize something is not right, didn't you?" And then, with a coldness that sent chills down my spine, he added, "You are correct, I went through your laptop." I was paralyzed. He did not even attempt to conceal it. Then he began to shame me. He hurled insults at me and judged me for notes I had written over the past 7 years, long before he entered my life. He degraded me for expressing interest in other men, mocked me for finding other men attractive, and even ridiculed someone I had liked in the past, whose picture I had forgotten I had saved in my notes. "He is short," he said, laughing. "My arm is longer than he is." He became enraged over a harmless message from a male friend who had sent me outfit photos asking for assistance, simply because we used emojis during our conversations. I could not even find my voice. I was frozen in place, utterly shocked. He humiliated me for things I had only ever written for my self-notes, where I expressed my regrets, where I pleaded with God to forgive me for past mistakes. The most intimate portions of my heart. He read everything and used it against me. He even examined all my documents, including my job offer letter. He read that too. When he saw how much I was earning, he became resentful, spiteful. He claimed it was unfair that I effortlessly earned more than he did and that he worked so hard while I was supposedly coasting, as if my success were something to resent rather than celebrate, as if I did not deserve it. He would not even allow me to see his own phone, yet he rummaged through every corner of mine. Then he said, "Let me help you delete these," and started erasing notes he disapproved of. He went through my contacts and deleted whoever he disliked, asserting that when I am trying to get to know someone for marriage, I should not keep remnants of my past. I should eliminate them. I sat there in complete silence, feeling utterly powerless, like I no longer had any control over what belonged to me. Then the most shocking moment occurred. He stated, "My uncle was right about you," simply because I had visited a country his family despised and that he had asked him to arrange the marriage with the girl he had originally suggested. He took the groceries he had brought and even reclaimed the only gift he had ever given me. That was the first time he brought groceries. Whenever he visited, most often uninvited, he always expected me to cook and clean up after him, asserting that it was a woman's responsibility to take care of these tasks. It was all at my expense, every single time. Even when I wished for him not to come in or stay over, he would force his way inside. I had never encountered anyone who violated my personal space like that. He would make himself at home, sleep on my bed, and refuse to leave, even when I told him I was uncomfortable with his presence. I repeatedly explained that I did not want a man living in my home outside of marriage, but he refused to listen. And that was not the end. I could not sleep after he left. I opened my laptop once more, still trembling, and that is when I realized he had neglected to log out of his email. And that was when I discovered it. He had emailed himself my personal notes, the ones where I stored my passwords. I felt sick. He had violated me in every conceivable manner emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and now digitally. My body felt heavy. I did not even contemplate checking what else he had done. The only thing I could focus on was deleting those emails. I wish I had searched through his emails. I wish I had fought back harder. But in that moment, I felt entirely hollowed out. He had twisted everything, making me feel ashamed, disgusting, and worthless. The only action I took while he was still present was to throw his phone against the wall when he refused to let me see it. When I tried to slap him, I accidentally cut my finger instead. And you know what he did? He applied a bandage to it, as if he had not just psychologically devastated me. A part of me still cannot believe it truly happened. The other part cannot stop replaying it. He told me it was his birthday. And after everything he did to me that night, violating my privacy, humiliating me, making me feel disgusting and unworthy, he had the audacity to look at me and say, "Thank you for giving me the best birthday." As if I were the one who had done something for him, as if I were the one who had violated him. He said it sarcastically, as though I had ruined his life, when in reality he was the one who had destroyed mine. It was incredibly manipulative and surreal, as if he wanted me to feel grateful for being abused. That moment haunts me. It sealed in just how sick and twisted the entire situation was. And the most disturbing aspect, that night he went through notes I had written between 2011 and 2018, 7 years of my private thoughts. Yet I had only known him personally for about 2 months. He behaved as if he had the right to judge me, shame me, and demean me for the things I had written long before he ever existed in my life. Notes where I had poured out my heart, repented, reflected, and sought growth. Things I never expressed to anyone, thoughts I kept solely for myself. What granted him the rights? He shamed me, belittled me, demeaned me, and judged me, simply because I wrote down my honest feelings. Those notes were not for him. They were not for anyone's. They were intended solely for my eyes. He had no right to read them. No right to weaponize them. No right to make me feel like I was the worst human being for expressing what was already buried in the past. He made a mockery of my sincerity. He violated something sacred, not just my privacy but my growth. Even after everything that transpired that night, I still did not comprehend the full picture of who he truly was. I failed to recognize the lies, cheating, deception, and despicable qualities that permeated his being. It wasn't until everything completely ended and I had time to process everything that I began to piece the puzzle together. Only then did I realize the depth of the manipulation and deceit, how everything was merely a facade. He had concealed his true self all along, playing a game, lying to my face, pretending to be something he was not. It was as if the real him was gradually revealed over time, and I could not believe how blind I had been. I was too enmeshed in his love bombing, in the hope of something genuine, that I failed to notice all the signs. But once it was over, the truth became inescapable. And in the end, I could not have been more relieved to walk away from someone who turned out to be nothing but a monster disguised as a human. I have never shared anything like this before, but I think it is time. I still carry a great deal of pain from this experience, and I wanted to write it out not only to process, but to see if it resonates with anyone else out there. If you have ever endured something similar, please feel free to share. Thank you to anyone reading this. I did not anticipate sharing so much, but it has been weighing heavily on my heart for a long time. Story 4. My family claimed I was spoiled for crying on Christmas, but I was just overwhelmed. As a child, I learned to hide my emotions or face scorn from my mom, brother, and stepdad. After years of suppression, I'm finally untangling my feelings. Will they ever understand? This is me using a throwaway account to express feelings I have about events from my childhood. Maybe it will provide you with entertainment, or perhaps you can offer insight or advice. Regardless, thank you for clicking, and I wish you the best. For as long as I can remember, emotions have always been overwhelming for me. My parents described me as strangely calm, distant, and emotionless when I was a baby, toddler, and young child. I would mimic and imitate others like other young children, but otherwise I would merely observe and watch people. There was no giggling, no laughter, and no crying. I was deemed a very easy child. As I grew older and began to express myself, it became too much both for me and for my caretakers. Now that I am significantly older and have encountered other families and made many friends, I can reflect back and say I had what the youth of today might refer to as an emotionally unintelligent family. While I appreciate the moral ideals of Christmas, birthdays, and any other holidays associated with joy and generosity, I have come to realize that my deep mistrust and apprehension towards them originates from numerous experiences I had in attempting to understand emotions within my particular family. The earliest birthday memory I possess involves receiving cards from relatives and enjoying a small pizza, as my family was less financially stable but still made an effort to create a special dinner for occasions. My mother was exhausted, my father was late, but he arrived with a large, hand-carved wooden playset that he had custom-made for me. He constructed it in his friend's garage and revealed it to me. I was overjoyed to see it, which sparked a heated argument between my parents as my mother insisted on knowing how he afforded the materials and why he was late. For hours, they shouted over me while I sat there, and my brother reprimanded me for provoking this conflict and causing them to fight. My first memory of a gift I cherished that made me truly feel loved is tainted by a bitter confrontation between my parents regarding finances and mutual respect. Now you might assume that I at least still possess the playset my father made for me, but that is not the case. Whenever I played with it, my mother would enter the room and question why I was engaging with it and whether I understood its worth, or she would simply fold her arms and glare at me until I ultimately stopped. Conversely, my father would take personal offense and chastise me when I was not playing with it, yelling at me about the amount of effort he invested in its creation and all the trouble I caused regarding it. Ultimately, none of it mattered. After their divorce, one day I failed to clean my room quickly enough, and my mother bagged the playset in a trash bag, forcing me to watch her throw it away while scolding me about the importance of valuing my possessions and suggesting that I did not deserve it. So that is my earliest memory. It took me some time to grasp the concept of Christmas. When I was very young, I believed it was an everyday occurrence, and my brother encouraged this notion since he found it amusing. He would wake me up early every morning for weeks and shake me, exclaiming, "It is Christmas, it is Christmas." Then he would watch me rush out to discover what the excitement was about, laughing when I felt disappointed and sad to find that nothing had changed. My mother, now our primary caretaker, also found it humorous and did not comfort me or intervene, but eventually explained that Christmas occurs once a year. Christmases were enjoyable, and I honestly do not recall the details. Then my mother began dating and eventually married my stepfather, and their combined careers improved our financial situation. They both promised to make up for past years of our childhood events with a special Christmas that year. My brother's birthday falls right before Christmas, and in my youthful imagination they went all out for him. This thrilled me, but to be truthful, I was genuinely happy to see everyone else joyful. My family was not accustomed to expressing emotions, especially positive ones, and witnessing my brother and mother smile so much filled me with excitement for Christmas, hoping to see them even happier. And Christmas came and went. I cannot honestly recall the gifts. I do remember that my brother and mother received quite a lot, and my mother even recently admitted somewhat shyly that our holidays were usually biased in his favor. I was pleased to see them happy, but I began to feel overwhelmed. Once again, I was generally a rather distant child and did not typically experience strong emotions. I did not particularly enjoy my gifts. In fact, I did not care much. The anticipation of this holiday, which was portrayed as significant and meaningful, began to fade, and my family did not appear as happy as they had been before. I was already feeling a bit down. All of this came to a head and I began to cry, prompting my family to react strongly. I could not stop crying, and my mother dragged me to the laundry room for a timeout, saying how spoiled I was and how ridiculous I was being. I truly could not stop crying. My mother, brother, and stepfather took turns coming to scold me for being such a brat, insisting I could not have my way and needed to stop my behavior. At that time, I lacked the emotional maturity or vocabulary that I am working to develop now. I was not upset about gifts as Dudley was in Harry Potter. Instead, I was overwhelmed by a multitude of emotions, saddened because I thought they were tired and upset, and feeling the excitement of the holiday coming to an end. However, I was unable to communicate that effectively, so I simply continued to cry while my family kept coming around to reprimand me. And that has been how Christmases have felt for me since. I always experience feelings of being overwhelmed and sad, and I often retreat to lock myself in a room for a short time to cry before rejoining my family. I tried to counteract this by going all out with gifts for my family for several years, with my parents even stating that I created Christmas a few years in a row with my gift selections for them, but it never truly helped. I consistently felt sad and disappointed during Christmas. This is just one example that has always stuck with me, but it reflects a common trend in my life where I would feel any emotion as a child, and if I expressed it, whether positively or negatively, I would be scolded or reprimanded. Eventually, I learned to turn off my emotions as a teenager, and for years I had to work to turn them back on. Even as an adult, my family usually scolds me and often completely shuts me out when I express emotions, even if I am simply trying to discuss feelings with them as I would with my friends, partner, or even the families of my friends and partner. It is experiences like the one described above that lead me to feel like a confused fool for wondering, for years, why do I struggle with expressing emotions? Sometimes I cannot even feel my own emotions. That seems strange. I wonder why that is. Oh well. I do not know why I felt compelled to share this, but I simply wanted to. If your family is similar, I want you to understand that your feelings are not dangerous, wrong, gross, or shameful. You ought to feel your emotions, and the people in your life should want to know how you are feeling and respect it. Anyway, thank you for reading all of this. Have a good day and take care.